Yo, this is Court Bauer from MLW. Shout out to True Hill Heat. Give them a listen.
All right.
Yo, what up? You know what it is. It's your boy AJ Francis reporting to you live from New York City, the birthplace of hip hop. And I'm telling you that I'm only tuned in with True Hill Heat Wrestling. Holla at me.
Hello everyone, it's a hardcore legend, Mick Foley, wishing a nice day to everyone there, right there, at True Heel Heat. Yeah!
Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. We are live on the True Hill Heat, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for our Dark Side of the Ring Season 5, Episode 8, Sensational Sherri review, discussing the latest episode of the latest season of Dark Side of the Ring. To do that, I am joined by the princess of all the true heels. You've been seeing her all over this channel the past couple of days. She is Miss Krssi Love.
What's going on, peeps? What's up? What's up? Happy Monday. Wow.
Happy Monday. When was the last time you were live on a Monday?
Right? The live on a Monday. Okay. How you doing, SP?
I am doing well. I appreciate everyone who is joining us live. I appreciate anyone who is watching us on demand as well. And anyone who's been supporting our Dark Side of the Ring Season 5 reviews. We had to drop a 3 in 1 week to catch up, to be up to date.
Right?
Before we get to episode 9 this week, which is going to be the Sandman episode. We'll do a little preview at the end of this review for that one. And then we got our final episode next week. So we're closing out season 5 strong here, and we got an episode about someone that I know you're very familiar with, Miss Krssi Love, Sensational Sherri. You even rocking the shirt. I love it. Rocking the shirt.
I had to. She was that's one of my favorites when I was growing up, watching in the 80s and 90s. So yes, I had to rep the queen for sure. One of the trendsetters, trailblazers. Give her flowers. Even though this was a sad ass episode, but yeah.
One of the pioneers for sure, and we appreciate y'all if you're watching us, and share your thoughts on this episode.
Yes.
Share your thoughts on even just Sensational Sherri's career. What is your favorite highlight, favorite moment of her career? Who was your favorite wrestler that she managed during her career as well? You can let us know that in the comments, in the live chat. Thank you for joining us. Show that appreciation back. the simplest way possible. Drop the thumbs up on this video. Share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you're new to the True Heel Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. And like I said before, sound off in the live chat. We love to interact with all of you and hear your thoughts on Dark Side of the Ring Season 5, Episode 8, Sensational Sherri. But of course, if you're feeling generous and you want to give back to what we do here, the best way to do that is with a super chat donation. Those go a very long way in helping out all the contributors that you see on the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. So every little bit matters and it gives back to us. So we always appreciate that. So go over and send some support to us here. But like I said, this is one that I know you're familiar with, Sensational Sherri. What was your first memory that you remember of seeing Sensational Sherri on WWF or WCW television?
That she wasn't scared to fight no man.
Yeah.
That yeah, she was a badass. She's supposed to be like this dainty woman, but she got down and gritty with the guys, and the guys was, she would go and interfere and help her whoever she was managing win by any means necessary. And she was loud, and she would always beat the man. Come on! She would and she would always yell, and then you could hear Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan talking about her on the side, and the commentary was great shit.
My earliest memory of Sherri had to be her as the queen with the Macho King Randy
Yes, Queen
Savage.
Sherri,
Yeah,
yeah.
Queen Sherri was probably my earliest memory. Then from there, I remember her managing Shawn Michaels in the early
Yes,
part when he
yes.
turned heel in
She sang his song
1992.
originally before
Yes.
he did.
The iconic theme song of Shawn Michaels was
She
created by
sang it,
her.
yep.
And then, yeah, I just followed her career from there. I remember her whole entire run in WCW when she first came in, and they was like, oh, who is she going to manage? And then I thought that it was sublime booking, putting her with the
With
Harlem
Harlem
Heat.
Heat,
Because
yes, yes.
that helped out the Harlem Heat so much. That was really their first big break. They had been an established tag team in WCW, but getting Sherri as their manager felt
And
like they
being
had
heels, yeah,
broke
they were
through.
heels.
Yeah.
They're
But
top heels then, so they were great. Even when she was with the $1 Million Man, every person she adapted to them and would wear something cohesive with them. She would adapt. I was she must have spent a lot of money on wardrobe and makeup and everything for herself.
It's a lot of money to keep up with all of that. I mean,
Yep.
just even the facial makeup that she got.
Yes, yes, she would.
Even that.
Yes. All
Even
of
that, I know that had to cost a lot of money. But yes, let us know your first memory of Sensational Sherri as we get into this week's episode, Dark Side of the Ring, Season 5, Episode 8. Of course, Chris Jericho is our narrator. And we hear from who's become freaking they should just add him to the credits at this point because he's been on every episode. Jim Cornette's here. And he calls Sensational Sherri the first, the only great female manager of the modern times in our cold open. We start with WrestleMania 9 with Luna Vachon attacking Sherri and slamming her on the floor. We hear a phone call where someone asks Sherri how much of that is fake while the footage is of Sherri working as a wrestler in the ring. Sherri tells the man she has a job that wears her body out, and that is not fake. She sits in the hospitals, and that's not fake. James Cornette says that the guys liked working with Sherri because she was all in, and that Sherri was the first person he ever managed. They were thrown together in 1982 when they were just starting out, and she was still a rookie. They bonded because she was greener than goose shit, and I was work. He says that she wasn't the over the top personality yet, but nobody knew how great she would become. I did not know that the first person Jim Cornette ever managed was freaking Sherri.
Sherri, no. So that's why he was one of the opening people here, because he can tell you that they started together.
Yeah.
So that's why he's one of the pivotal people that's in this episode that explains where she came from.
Exactly. That's why I appreciated him here, and this was needed for him to be here.
Yes.
Because of that connection. Now, sometimes it just seems like they're just shoehorn him in. So I appreciate when he's actually needed. We hear from Sherry's best friend, who is Kathy Fitzpatrick. She says that Sherry was a diva before there were divas.
Mm,
She was a badass in the ring and a sweetheart out of it. Sherry grew up in a fatherless home, and her mom would take her to wrestling shows in Mississippi. Sherry, from an old sit down interview, added a lot to this documentary here, this sit down interview
yeah,
here,
I
where
think
she
so.
says she always wanted to travel and do something different than everyone else.
Hmm.
We get someone else who would be a big factor in this episode in Jake the Snake Roberts at this point. Jake says that he met Sherry in 1974 when she was just 17. She was sitting in the front rows at shows in Mid South. Jake was a referee at the time and says that he and Sherry were on and off again for about 4 to 5 years. That blew my mind.
Me too.
I was like, when did this happen?
Correct. Like we've seen a lot of Jake the Snake stories, but never have we heard him say anything about Sherry ever.
This man's still in love with Sherry. You
He's
could
still
tell.
in love. You definitely could tell that he was still in love. Wait till we get to towards the ending about what he did, but that's a.
He says Sherry was beautiful and a kick your ass kind of girl. He doesn't say he was in love with her, but he says he was in love with something. And it's like it blows my mind. How did I never hear about this? I've heard about every crazy wrestling story and every crazy wrestling relationship. I had never known that Jake the
Never
Snake
known.
Roberts and Sensational Sherry.
One well kept secret.
Very well kept.
Very
Uh
well
he's he says they both wanted something that seemed so far out of reality, and as they never thought they would get to the big show, Sherry wanted to be a wrestling star from the jump. Cornette notes that there was no wrestling training like today, and you
kept.
just had to hang around long enough until someone took interest. The first one that did was Grizzly Smith, which is Jake's father, which was like, uh oh. I was like, I remember the story about
The
Jake's
real
father.
yeah, we remembered the story. I was like, "No, don't tell me he done touched her too," and then I was like, "Lord, Lord, Lord, Lord," but
He told apparently Grizzly Smith told Sherry that she was too young to wrestle at 16 and she needed to come back when she was
now they're
21.
too young. Yeah, now they're
He's,
too
he's,
young.
he has a
And
line. He has a line he's not willing to cross, folks.
and that's what Jake said, "Oh, well, she was a little bit too old for him, so."
Little too oh damn.
I was like, "Yeah, she
Sherry
was 17." Like, what? Because yeah, well, he had liked them really
really, really
big, like
young.
yeah, really young. Like, yeah. Anywho,
Sherry was working regular jobs in New Orleans, and then she met Leroy Gonzalez, who would become her husband and now ex-husband.
now
Some great pictures of a very young Sherry are shown. Leroy says that they met in June of 1976, and when he was working in a restaurant, Sherry was complaining about a roach in the booth. He jokes that he wished he was the roach in the booth with her. So she invited him to have a drink at a club she worked across the street. He didn't know what type of club it was, but he showed up and she was a dancer. And he notes that she swept him off his feet. She wanted to get out of that business, so they bought a trailer and he moved her in. They moved in together. He immediately one day after work got asked her to get married. He brings up that she would party with friends, and he lists all the drugs she would take when they went out with
no.
them, and it led to many heated discussions. Sherry wanted a family, and they had a son, Jared, in July of 1978. You wanted a child, and you got one. It's time to put your big girl pants on and take care of the child, says Leroy. Sherry couldn't take it and told Leroy she was leaving to pursue a career in wrestling. He laughed at her and thinking that she wasn't serious, but Sherry left when the baby was only 3 months old. I was like, damn.
Like, I know you wanted a baby, but I think you kinda should have waited for your career first, I feel like, instead of just, like, saying, "Let me have the baby," and then leave the baby so young.
Yeah.
But, we weren't in her shoes, so I guess she felt like she had no choice, but, I mean, I would have just waited. Like, I knew I wanted to be a wrestler and I want to travel the world. I'm just gonna wait.
I'll just wait till my child is
Yep.
can understand and I can have a conversation to let him know why I need to go.
Why I did those things.
Uh,
Correct. Yes.
Kathy says that it bothers Sherry, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. She says that she doesn't judge people for their for what they for decisions they feel is best, but it's just like damn.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like damn. Sherry moves though to Memphis and was still doing work as an exotic dancer while looking for her wrestling break. Cornette notes that there were outlaw wrestlers around major wrestling cities, and Sherry met Butch Moore. She told him she wanted to learn to wrestle, so he slapped the living hell out of her, and she responded, "Is that all you got?" And I heard it in Sherry's voice.
Yep.
I was like, I
Yep.
can hear her saying
Mhm.
that. I can hear
Mhm.
her saying that. So Sherry's Cornette says, "There you go, outlaw wrestler. What the fuck is that?" I would have been interested to see if she slapped him back and if he
Right.
could handle it, says Cornette. Uh, Sherry says she was going to succeed in this and put in a year and then went back to Grizzly and she threw her license at him. She was 21 years old and ready as she had a son, was divorced. Grizzly asked her if she really wanted to do this, and she said it was the career she wanted.
Mm.
So then we hear from another prominent talking head, Jake's sister. Rockin' Robin is here and knows that she defeated Sherry for the women's WWF title. She would hang out with the girls to make them feel welcome and notes her dad, Grizzly, had a thing for younger girls. And it was like, oh, here we go
Right.
again. Here we go again. Jake says, Jake starts going in on his dad. He was like, he was a no good son of a bitch. He knows that Jerry was a little old for his dad's wheelhouse. And it was like, damn.
Mhm.
Cornette notes that Grizzly told Sherry she needed to go to Mula for more training and work with her group. Cornette gives a rundown of Mula school and how it was like military. And Mula got her kickback of the bookings that all the girls got. There were curfews, and Sherry liked her nightlife. So Mula asked her to leave, and that may have been a blessing for Sherry. No, that's like,
I'm about to
gee,
say we don't know about Mula and her story as well. She's another one. So yeah.
exactly. So Cornette says that lets Sherry get over on her own merits. Leroy was trying to get Sherry to come home. He even hired a private investigator, Krssi, to follow her around. He says that three guys walked up to him and told him to leave Sherry alone as she belongs to us now. I was like, what? Goddamn! I would
What
have
kind of
not thought
mafia?
that
Like,
was the wrestling business.
no, no, not at all. Like, and then it's like, who was the three guys? Like, who were they? Who hired them? Who told them to do this stuff? Like, I had so many questions when I was watching this documentary.
I think it was Vince McMahon. Vince
Ah!
McMahon. He took that to mean she belonged to the wrestling business, so he left her alone after that.
That's
And that took
sad.
us to the first commercial. What's going
Yep.
on, Wrestling Your Lowdown Show? Thanks for joining us, good sir. But yes, what did you think about that first part with Sherry pursuing her career, leaving her child behind, and everything in between?
It's sad, but like, she wanted to just get her career and she wanted to do something. So it was like she had to do what she had to do to get where she needed to go. And it shows that, she worked in these as a dancer to go through wrestling and learn through other promotions so she can go back to Grizzly and then go other places. And even like I was surprised about like the whole Moolah stuff. Like I didn't know about that. And we all know the history of Moolah. So I'm sure she was like, yeah, I got to get the hell out of here too. Like, I'm not going to keep doing this. Like, sure, no problem. You want me to go? No, you're doing
Oh,
me a
no, no,
favor.
no problem. No
I'll be
problem.
out
Oh,
later.
I'm
Don't worry.
so heartbroken. I'm
Right.
so heart. You
I'm
gotta
going to
fake
figure
it.
this out. Yep. I'm going to figure this out with or without you guys. Like, so yes, I thought the first segment of the episode was good. Um, sad, but good.
A lot happened already
A
here,
lot
but
happened. Yeah. The whole Jake threw me off. I was like, what? When? How? Like, okay.
One of the
Sure.
best mysteries I think I've ever seen. Jake the Snake
Correct.
Robert was
And
in love
Sherry.
with Sherry Martel.
Right. Right. Right.
You'd love to see it.
Love to see
Uh,
it.
Sh-
Love to see it.
Sherry spends time in Japan and then goes to Mid South Wrestling and then found more success in the mid 80s with the AWA. Vern Gagne didn't have a relationship with Moolah, which was good for Sherry as he would book people outside of Moolah's group. Sherry was physical and could dish it out and take it with the best of them. So we meet one of her all time best opponents. Medusa is
Medusa.
here. She knows that she looked up to Sherry a lot and tried to emulate what she did. She remembers talking to Sherry about her son and how at the time it was frowned upon for women wrestlers to be pregnant or have children. Then we finally meet, after kind of talking about him for a good 20 minutes of this episode, we finally meet Jarrett of today. Jarrett Gonzalez, the son of Sherry Martel. Sensational Sherri is here, and he calls his mother a legend. We get subtitles because his speech is not the best. He is not in the best of health, and he says that it's not easy. Kathy says that she thinks that he has cancer, though he has never come out and told her that. He
Mm-hmm.
lost part of his tongue due to cancer, and yeah, but he definitely sounds like someone who 100% loves his mother. Like, he gets emotional anytime he's talking about his mother
Mm-hmm.
throughout the documentary, throughout this
Mm-hmm.
episode here.
Yeah.
We see him showing off pictures as he notes that he has always taken care of, and she made sure he was always taken care of, and she made sure of it. In a
Right.
way, she made the best decision for me, he says.
Right.
And
Right.
that was very nice. And I know Sherry looking down must be touched to hear that from
Right,
her son.
right. Again, like I think this is one of like the episodes where it shows the most honesty of a child born to a wrestler. And like, that wasn't around for them, but she did what she needed to do. She made sure that he was taken care of, like support and everything, whatever he needed, that's what, he
Yeah.
got. So that was heartfelt, this, and like you said, to hear him talk about her, with some like back-ended like feelings, but still saying, I love my mom no matter still.
Yeah. Leroy says that Jarrett was 3 years old when they told him who his mother was. His earliest memory of her was a magazine that was published in Japan. They made arrangements for her to meet him for a week, and she sent him back after 2 days.
First of all, you know how long it takes to get to Japan? So
That is
like,
wild. That is wild. And he even tells the producer, he was like, "Yeah, I'm still angry about it." He was
I
like,
mean,
"Were
I
you?"
would be
The
too.
producer asks him, "Were you angry at the time?" He was like, "I'm still angry about it."
The honesty of it all.
Word, like, he kept it real. He was like, "Yeah, that shit pissed me off. Even reminded me of that shit."
Yes, yes, yes.
Fucking
Like,
on
it's
a you
crazy.
on a flight for 2 days.
You're on a
Then
flight
you
for
stay.
literally 2 days. And there's no like direct, like really not direct flights. Like this, if depending on where you're going, you gotta stop somewhere.
His whole week was 4 days traveling and 2 days with his mom.
2 days with his mom. At best, maybe one and a half, probably, because she was like, "Yeah, you
Bro,
gotta go, you gotta go."
you gotta go. You got to go. I gotta do the nightlife. I
Yep.
gotta wrestle. Medusa says that it took a toll on women as they pushed the envelope to prove a point, and they took the idea of doing what they were told and do your job in hopes you would get elevated. Jesse Ventura jumps to the WWF and putting good words to Vince McMahon for Sherry. She was brought into the company and was put in a feud with Fabulous Moolah for the women's title. How ironic this is.
Right.
Uh, Moolah was in her 50s at the time, and a change needed to be made. So they put the title on Sherry. Cornette notes that as a wrestler, that was the peak of her career. Rockin' Robin was put in a dark match with Sherry, and soon she was part of the roster. And they worked with each other every night of the week with people like Hulk Hogan on top. Jake notes that Sherry was probably working harder than she needed to. Leroy says that he never liked wrestling to begin with, as it took Sherry away, but that was her choice.
Hmm.
Jake notes that Sherry was emotionally wrecked because of the separation and being away from
Hmm.
her
Hmm.
son, but didn't let anyone know. She was
Right.
focused on working hard and getting validation from the boys. We even saw like reenactments of her partying with all the boys in the locker room. And Cornette says that Sherri was one of the boys, and that was a compliment. Robin says that she could have drank or snorted them under the table. I was like, what a
What?
line!
Right, right. That took me out. I was like, damn. Okay.
Medusa says that Sherri loved her pot. I was like, yeah, let's go,
Go,
Sherri!
Sherry.
And when mixed with alcohol and cocaine, all right, you lost me there, Sherri.
Right,
She
right.
isn't sure how
You know,
they
people
were
always gotta
able.
take shit too far. Like, you can't just do indulge in just like one good thing and just be a good high. No, you want to go over the hill. Great.
Oh, they have to always go ham. She knows that Sherri was never late for a match, though. So, hey, yeah, there you go. Robin tells us the story of
Beautiful.
an outdoor show that she wrestled Sherri at, and Sherri looked completely out of it and looked right past her. She says at one point she hit her with a stiff kick right in the throat, and Robin thought she was gonna die in the ring.
Cause she was so damn high. She probably didn't understand what the fuck was happening. She just knew she had to work, she had a job to do, and she had to be there.
She was like this is a soft kick, and then right in the
Yep.
throat. Oh god. Back with Robin struggling to breathe, she was able to regain her breath, and once over, Sherri gave Robin the biggest hug because she knew it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Robin says that she liked pot, which was no big deal. It was a problem when it was mixed with other
The
substances.
substances.
I was like, I love how this whole episode has just been a big endorsement for pot, and that Sherri was great when she smoked weed, but when she mixed all the other shit, that's when
She was a
shit went wrong.
monster. Like the what was what was the episode we did before? Like was it Gino? No, not Gino. What was his name?
No,
Damn.
Chris Adams.
Chris Adams,
Chris
yeah,
Adams.
he was a nightmare once he drank. He was a different person. So she was great when she smoked the weed. She was good. She was fun. But once she got the other stuff, it was like, you
When
can't
she
be
mixed
around
it with the
Sherri.
alcohol and the cocaine, it was like, can't fuck with Sherri tonight. We gotta
Can't,
move
yep,
on.
yeah.
We gotta move on. We jump ahead as Cornette notes Vince was never fully behind a women's division. So he would stop it at various points, if you know
He
the
did.
history.
Yep. Hmm.
He has Sherri though, and wanted to make her a manager with some of his top stars. He says that you can be Cornette says you could be the women's world champion and make or you could be the manager for a main event male star in the WWF and make a
And make
fortune.
money. Yep.
Eric Bischoff puts over what everyone saw in Sherri. He says a very gifted, athletic, physical woman that was very attractive. The camera loved her,
Hmm.
and there wasn't a microphone she couldn't own. Cornette notes that Sherri would tweak her appearance to match who she was managing while also making sure she was still Sherri.
Hmm.
Bischoff notes that Sherri had a ridiculous impact on the business, as we would see her with Macho Man Randy Savage. And Leroy says that he didn't know she was going to be able to do it that well. As
Hmm.
time went on, she became very famous. And we even brings up how she was on the Arsenio Hall show. We get pictures of Jarrett backstage at the Arsenio Hall show. Leroy notes that Jarrett would fly out to be with her and meet with the wrestlers. He says that he grew up on the road with her, and he calls his mom a legend again. And
Hmm.
she wasn't the everyday mom, but that's how legends were made. I love the way he talks about his mom.
Yeah, I mean, he gives her so much flowers, and it's just like he's really. You can tell this is a child that really like when he was around her, loved being around her, and just like adored her.
Absolutely. He definitely loved his mom. We got Power Driver Finisher in the chat saying, sup, y'all? What's going on, Power Driver? We also got Goku2241. Goku2241. You weren't watching the beginning of our Dark Side of the Ring reviews that dropped on Friday because I saw you in the live chat asking why. Oh, why you guys ain't acknowledging the live chat? Because we weren't live. I brought it back live for you, sir. I saw your comment. I'm calling you out. We bring it back live for you. So we're acknowledging all your comments. He says Sherri really went through the worst people in wrestling: Grizzly
Yes,
Smith, Moolah, and Vince, and then Bischoff.
and Bishop. Yeah, yeah, yes, Goku. You're so so correct on all those. I mean, well, you had to get through that. Yeah, You're right. You're right.
Yeah. Cornette talks about how Sherri was different than any other female manager at the time. That leads to discussion of Miss Elizabeth. And, Miss Elizabeth, that was like the first kind of female valet that I remember.
Hmm.
And Cornette talks about Liz and then later Sunny and Sable and how they weren't trained wrestlers, but Sherri was. And we
Hmm.
see Sherri taking some crazy bumps, getting like gorilla press slammed out to the
Hmm.
floor and taking bumps
Hmm.
on guys. Medusa notes that a woman's frame is a little less. Jake is sure she took meds to deal with all the pain. Jarrett says that if he ever opened his mouth and told everyone what he saw, he would have not been allowed to go back to see her. He isn't. He says he isn't sure if he ever saw his mom sober. That's deep. That's wild.
And that's not the first person we've heard say that those things about like a wrestler, unfortunately. So yeah, it's crazy.
Sherri says that she found ways to get through as Cornette talks about the increased use of somas. And once again, somas is becoming a topic on Dark Side of the Ring. Seems like this happens a lot.
That was, I guess it was a drug where it wasn't really needed for a doctor,
Yeah. The
and it
muscle,
was
it's the muscle relaxers. We talked about it last time with Chris
yes,
Adams.
yes.
Medusa says that it was like candy and was readily available. There would be doctors and writing scripts, and that leads to WWF instituting a drug testing program. Cornette says that it started because of the steroid scandal, but they also tested for street drugs. Sherri failed a number of times for marijuana. I was like, ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's self-medicating. That's the best way to self-medicate. If you got bumps and bruises, your body's in
Right,
pain all the time,
right.
smoke a
Yep,
blunt.
yep.
Don't take a soma. Don't take a muscle relaxer. Take a blunt. One blunt a day keeps all the
One blood,
pain
yeah,
away.
play away.
They informed. So they let her know. Sherri talks about the last time she was let go because of a failed drug test. She said she was called to the office with Vince, Bruce Pritchard, and JJ Dillon. They informed her that she failed another test and they had to let her go. She said there was no point in yelling or screaming as she
Cause she
knew
knew,
she
knew.
messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Cornette says that back then nobody was sent to rehab. Instead, you were just fired. That's fucked up.
It is. I mean, yeah.
That's fucked up. Fucked up
Right,
shit,
like
man.
it was weed. Like I understand the other drugs she had, but when you mixing and doing all the other things, they gotta sit you down, and they're not sending you to rehab. I mean, like
Because they might try to make me go to rehab, and I'm like,
that's
no,
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 nothing,
no.
no.
Goko says the body can't take that much of a beating. 100%
Yes,
agree with you. We got wrestling lowdown shows. Says that's why you saw wrestlers with fanny packs.
all the time. Yes,
Had
that's
them
so true.
drugs. Had
Got
them
the drug,
drugs
got
in
the
there.
pills in there. Yep.
Roll
Hmm.
up, you could roll up a blunt in a fanny pack. No one
Roll
would
up the
know.
blunt. Yep.
Um,
No one know.
Power Driver Finisher says, well, fanny packs were everywhere, but yeah, that's one reason. Yes. Gotta have your pills in there.
Yep.
Sherri is fired in 1993 from WWF and ends up with Jim Cornette back in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. She knows that she was the same. He knows that she was the same old Sherri and did a wonderful job. There was one night he could tell she was on a cruise on Lake Havasoma.
You gotta love his analysis. Yeah, I swear, it's some great stuff.
Great punchlines, great
Hmm.
one-liners from Cornette here.
Yep.
And I said this is the only time I would ever listen to Jim Cornette. I'm not listening to his podcast, so this was I like listening to him talk about this stuff. Uh,
Right. Exactly. This stuff we can listen to him talk about all day. Other stuff,
current stuff, no, not
no.
at all. Kathy says Sherri had back pain and the somas were for the pain and not to get high. Sherri says that she could not see how destructive it was. She
Hmm.
felt the drugs helped her perform and couldn't see what everyone else saw. Sherri ends up going to WCW next, as Eric Bischoff says he never asked why she was no longer with WWF. He was like, "Oh, former WWF star, just come, just come, just come. I
Yep.
don't want to ask no questions, just come."
Mm-hmm.
He didn't care, as all he knew is that she was a great talent. We see Sherri, come in, and she says she's looking for great talent, and then she's eventually paired up with Booker T and Stevie Ray, the Harlem Heat. Cornette notes that they looked great together, and
Mm-hmm.
Sherri gave them instant credibility. Jerry says that there were many times she held him and begging for forgiveness for all the time she had to take away from him.
Yep.
He would tell her that she didn't need to beg. Medusa says that Sherri seemed more lost and uncertain in WCW than she ever did. Sherri says she could no longer handle things, and Bischoff says he let her go because she could no longer perform on camera. She would
Mm.
show up on something and he thinks it was prescription drugs, but it didn't matter what it was. Medusa had no issue with Eric firing Sherri for her drug use, but says that it should have been done twofold on a handful of men in the company as well. And thank you, Sherri, for bringing that shit up,
Yeah.
because Eric Bischoff is the biggest person who has double
Mm-hmm.
standards. He's had double
Mm-hmm.
standards, and it's been one of the most kind of one of the biggest things about his run in WCW, that he had over the
Over
top
the top.
double
Mm-hmm.
standards towards certain people over others.
Like, just don't put her on TV. Like, why, fire her or whatever. Like, just tell her, like, hey, listen, like, this is what you need to do. But you had guys that was like high as a kite, working and doing any and everything, and they never got fired unless it was
And
like the
sh- and
last
Sherri
straw.
and Sherri was never as bad as Scott Hall would be a year after Sherri got let go.
Correct. Correct. That is a
So
fact. Double
there we go.
standard, but because she was a woman. That's
Yeah.
really what it was. It's
But
easier to
it's a
get rid of
shame.
her than
But but it's a shame because she was doing good work. They
Mhm.
had her with Harlem Heat. Then she had like the whole love storyline with Colonel Rob Parker.
Mhm.
She had a little beef with Medusa when Medusa first came in. So
Yep.
I felt like she was still doing great work even until she left the company in WCW. So it's a shame
Yeah.
it had to end like that.
Yeah. I agree. But of course,
After,
it's a double standard, so it's like whatever.
because it's Eric Bischoff. What do we expect?
Well,
He ain't
well,
shit.
yeah.
He
Yeah,
a
that.
fuckboy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
After WCW, there was no place to go for Sherri, as Sherri was in her 40s and younger women had come into the business. Jake had heard through the grapevine that Sherri was now on Oxycodone, and was now out of a job where there aren't 20 wrestling companies out there. It's not like 2024. It's
Yeah.
1997. It don't work like that.
Mhm.
He puts over how great the run is that she had, but in their minds, it is never enough. Then we head to the post-career chapter for Sherri, as Sherri marries her boyfriend Robert Scroll. Robert had nothing to do with the wrestling business, and that could be bad, as they marry a celebrity, and now Sherri was just a normal person.
Yep, she was
She
broke.
didn't hand. Yep, she was broke. She wasn't dressing in the over the top things. Wasn't in the ring anymore. But she still had all the pain and everything that she dealt with in wrestling
Mhm.
that she still had to
Mhm.
deal with after her career was over. And you have to kind of be like now the rock for her. And some people ain't messed up for that,
Ain't just
especially
for that stuff. Yep.
when you marry her and she's a celebrity, you accept the same lifestyle probably. So I can
Correct.
understand where he's coming from, but I mean, from the minute that they showed him in this documentary, I was like, he's not going to be good for her.
Suspect. Yep. And he didn't even speak. Well, I guess they couldn't speak to him, but they just showed pictures of him and just like, yeah, he just looked like he was just like no good for her. Like he probably added to the foolishness of what she was doing at that
Yeah.
time.
Kind of seems like a slime ball. Just me. Maybe just me.
Definitely.
I don't know.
Definitely.
I don't know. Frantic World saying, what's up, SP3, Krssi, and chat? This episode was a sad one. I didn't know about Sherri's ex and her son. We got Goku who says, Bischoff, you take drugs. It's not a big deal. You can work in WCW.
Till an extent. Once you can't
To an extent.
perform right, then we're getting rid of you.
And you have a vagina? Sorry, we gotta let you go. Goku who also says the first time I saw Sherri was the infamous Booker T promo. Hulk Hogan coming for you. Look all upset. He looks all upset. Didn't mean to call him a nigger. Goku who says Medusa was spitting facts throughout this episode. Yeah, I thought she was a good
Because she's a
addition
good,
of the
yeah,
Talking Heads.
yeah, for sure.
Power Driver Finisher says, yeah, the favorites get away with it. Yes, that's true. That is true. The Wrestling Lowdown Show says, do we know if Sherri was offered WWE rehab program later like they did for Scott Hall? It wasn't mentioned in this
No.
episode. So
I'm guessing that's a no.
they
Again,
offered to get her back surgery and give her a job.
yeah, that part, yes. But
Frantic Girl says, yeah, that's why I don't care about Eric Bischoff say about today's pro wrestling shows. Yeah, because whatever Eric Bischoff has to say about pro wrestling shows is probably because he feels the pro wrestling company said something bad about him first. Goku says, Bischoff did not care if someone had drugs or alcohol as long as they made money, aka Scott Hall. Exactly.
facts. Yep.
And then we also got Goku who says the second husband looked like Vince Russo.
Yeah, he does. That's a
They
good
did.
one, Goku.
They did. And Wrestling Lowdown Joe says, did Sherri and Luna ever interact? You saw it at
Yeah.
if you watch this episode, they show the angle that they did in 1993 when basically Sherri was leaving Shawn Michaels and then Shawn Michaels replaced Sherri with Luna Vachon. So they were
Yes.
basically feuding at the time that around close to the time Sherri got let go by WWF.
Correct.
But then yeah, we talk about the boyfriend. She didn't handle like the regular life and being a normal person very well. We continue to talk about the prescription drug use for her. And Jarrett says that Robert was always trying to put a wedge between Sherri and the family, and it was like, oh, that's confirmation he ain't shit. The last time he saw his mother was the night that she was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and that's sad. That's sad that that's
Yeah.
the last
That
time he
that
saw her. Sherri becomes the second woman inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Kathy says that it was Sherri's time to shine, and she spoke from the heart. We see her busting Bischoff's balls, not realizing he is in the crowd at first. Jarrett was happy that his mom was alive to be there and says that it was the top of her career. We see Sherri shout out her son and husband and Kathy in her speech. Robin says that Sherri realized that it wasn't a great occasion as it was a bow on her career and that it was actually over now. But Sherri was actually optimistic, apparently, to some people. She was looking forward to the next chapter and had news to share with Kathy, but didn't want to jinx it. Kathy eventually heard that the plan was for Sherri to be brought back to WWE, and WWE was going to pay for her surgery to have her back fixed, and they were gonna have her train the women. That would have made sense, assuming Sherri could stay clean, but it may have helped her, stay clean to be out of pain and have a purpose like that. Cornette knows that she wanted to go back, but doesn't know if WWE was receptive. June 15th, 2007. So this is now a full year after she's apparently supposed to go back to WWE, and they used her for the 2005 the build up to WrestleMania 21 with the Angle and Michaels feud. They had her inducted into the Hall of Fame in 06, but still 1 year later they hadn't bring her in to be a job or got her the help that she really needed at this point. And June 15th, 2007 comes, and unfortunately Sherri Martel passes away at the age of 49.
So sad. And like, what if they would have, maybe, who knows, if they would have been able to help her, like, would she still be here right now? Like, we don't know. But I'm sure she was probably looking very optimistic. So I think that would have been a great addition for her to be like one of the coaches. Like, she could have been like up there, like teaching the girls, like being badasses. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that would have definitely helped her and benefit for the girls that were there.
100%, especially at that time during like the
Yeah.
Divas era. They
The
needed
dude
someone like
they needed
Sherry to
her.
teach them.
Yep. Yep.
We got the sensational one in the chat who
Hello.
says Sherry went to rehab after she got fired from WCW around 1998/1999, and she quit her cocaine addiction around that time, but she still had prescription drugs as another option. So that was the problem that she was still stuck on. Thank you for that note there.
Thank you.
Uh,
Yep.
we also got Goku in the chat who says the mid to late 2000s was terrible for wrestlers because so many people were dying. Yeah, the prescription drugs were still readily available to them,
Mhm.
and even
Mhm.
after their careers. And when you're not using it for pain because you just wrestled a match and you have
Correct.
new
Yep.
pain, you're now trying to medicate yourself for long lasting lingering pain. It becomes something that you cannot control unless you have a prescription or have a doctor that's helping you. Really.
Yep.
But
Man.
yeah, she passes away June 15th, 2007. Jarrett received the call that his mother had passed away. Jake was told by his sister. No, it was told by her sister, and he drove
Mhm.
to Alabama to be there. He says that he felt empty inside. Jarrett says that she didn't deserve to die the way she did, and I was like,
No.
"What the hell? How did she die then?" I
Right.
was like, "Y'all
They
making
don't
that."
say.
I was like, they went to commercial at that point.
Yep.
Of course, keep you on the edge of your seat.
Correct.
Uh, Alabama police open an investigation as Jarrett says Sherry collapsed in a rocking chair on the porch, sitting next to her mom. It was ruled an accidental overdose. As we see the report, her addiction struggles were on display at the funeral. As Medusa says, several people that showed up were coked out of their mind, and I was like, way to throw Jake under the bus. Damn it, Medusa. I was rooting for you. But she
Yeah.
just
Yep.
mentions, oh, Jake. Jake was one of them. Jake was so coked up out of his mind, apparently, that he was leaning over the casket while mentally out of it. Jake says that all he could remember was Stevie Ray and Booker T being there, but he was at his lowest he's ever been. He's asked to speak, and he says that he all he can remember saying is, how dare you leave me
Leave me
behind?"
behind. Yep.
Wow. I was like, we were best friends in life, and he says we were supposed to be best friends to death. He
Mhm.
honored her friendship, and he honored her. Kathy starts to cry as she talks about her friend and how she is still with her. Eric doesn't know how you can talk about women in wrestling and not put Sherry at the top of the list. Cornette says that he doesn't think fans appreciated Sherry as much as they should.
Mhm.
Everyone in the business had a high opinion of Sherry and her talent. Jarrett says he has letters that his mother wrote to him over the years. Leroy says that the only thing he had against her was that she left. He says Jarrett is special and he does what he can to keep him going. Jarrett calls his dad a great provider, but he says that his mother and his stepmom, he says they loved each other, and he says that she couldn't have picked a better person to raise him. He asks the producer if he can bring in his stepmom, who is off
Mhm.
camera, and it was such a nice moment. They're both
Yeah.
teary eyed over this as Pat Gonzalez, Jarrett's stepmother, steps beside him with tears in her eyes and says Jarrett is her everything. He says Sherry was her my he Jared says Sherry was my mother, but this was her tag team
Acting
partner, and it
partner.
was like, oh, right in the
Right. It was like
feels,
the waterworks.
right
I
in
was
the
like, oh
feels.
damn. Yep. I was like, dang, this one had me. I was like the tear was I was like, oh, this is so beautiful. I can't. Yeah, this was really nice how you can come and because it takes a village and she had a village that helped her, you know, she made a decision and she just picked the right people to be there for her son.
Yeah, made sure he had everything he needed, and he
Yep.
had a great mother there with him. And Pat, as she's crying, and she says
Mhm.
Sherry was awesome, and she says she just chose her career. And Jared says, my mom, that's all she knew, and I don't hate her for it at all. Sherri in the old interview says, I sacrificed so much of my life, my family time. I like to know that the mistakes I made, people won't remember me so much for those, but for
Mm-hmm.
the good that I tried to do. I hope people will look back and maybe learn something from my mistakes. Man, deep one.
What this
Deep one.
this was the core one. Yeah, this one was like, where's the onions? Ah,
I was like, where's the onions at? I'm not
yep,
crying, you are.
yep.
Oh man, that ending with Pat and Jared and then talking about Sherri, that was really, really beautiful.
Mhm,
Really, really
mhm,
beautiful stuff. We got Goku agrees. He says when he said she's her tag team partner, had me in tears. We also
mhm.
got Power Jumper Finisher. He says I had painkillers for an injury, but was prescribed for one fill up. So I saw how easy it could be to get addicted and to something like that. It's tough. It's tough. I'm glad you didn't go to that other side of the fence,
Correct,
sir.
correct. Yep,
We also got Goku who says Sherri gave up everything for the industry. One of the best female wrestlers and managers of all time. Yes,
correct.
that's what she should
Absolutely.
get remembered. And I do agree with Cornette is that she's not as appreciated as she should be. Like she was a great wrestler that did not have a lot of great wrestlers for her to work with,
Work with,
and but
yes.
she's still remembered for matches with Fabulous Moolah and Medusa and Rock and Robin, and then what she was able to do in the second chapter of her career as a manager, I think is even greater. And
Yep.
I think that but because it was so great, her managerial run and what she did for so many great performers, whether it be
Performers, yep.
Million Dollar Man,
Mhm.
Macho Man Randy Savage, Shawn
Shawn
Michaels, the
Michaels, yep.
Harlem Heat,
Mhm.
I think that that's remembered so much that you tend to forget the wrestling part of it. But I feel like Cornette is right that you should appreciate everything she was able to do because she wouldn't become the great manager that she was if not for the wrestling career before that.
Correct. Absolutely. 100%. They when they talk about their favorite wrestlers, they don't really talk about her per se. Though you hear the Chinas, you hear who else? Uh
Trish,
Trish
Trish
Stratus,
Stratus,
Lita. But there won't be none of them unless you had Sherry. So
very
you
true.
gotta give props where props are needed, and she's one of the trendsetters. And again, most women didn't interact with the guys when there was cause like fighting and whatnot, and she did that. You can see that nowadays, but back then that was like a she was like one of the only ones that really did it. Her and Luna.
Yeah. So true. So true. She got physical. She was physically there, and it was all performance. And she just turned herself up to 100. And I like the
Hmm.
fact that we got to see kind of the humble beginnings and what she would become because it was like she had the basis of a
Hmm.
good wrestler, and then she found a character too. And we kind
Correct.
of are seeing that in modern ages of like someone like a timeless Tony Storm who
Yes. Yes.
was a
Yes.
great
Yes. Yes.
wrestler for years on In Progress and the
Hmm.
UK
Hmm.
scene, the
Hmm.
independent scene, then coming to WWE and NXT, NXT UK, and then coming to AEW and still kind of being the same character, but then finding herself and finding an over the top personality that
Hmm.
is probably going to be remembered for a long time. Not probably in the same fashion as Sensational Sherri, but in the same vein. I like that we have that kind of a modern example of what Sherri was able to accomplish with being a great wrestler and then adding the great personality to go along with it.
Correct. I absolutely. It just shows the characterization of like how the person can start and then how they can evolve and go to finding themselves and being this outlandish character that's performing and just doing such good stuff once they find their niche and wrestle well as well.
100% agree with you there. But sound off in the live chat. We're going to wrap this episode up. Let us know your MVP, LVP, whether you gave this episode a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle, and out of 10, what did you give the show? For me and Krssi Love, for Dark Side of the Ring, Season 5, Episode 8, Sensational Sherri, in 3, 2, 1. Thumbs up across the board from both of us. Out of 10, what did you give this episode, Krssi?
I give it 8.5.
8.5. Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. 8.5 for me as well. Not as much of a shock and outlandish as our last episode we reviewed
Right,
with
right.
the Chris Adams, with the interview with the killer with Chris Adams, but I felt like this was a full fleshed out story that gave you a great kind of viewpoint from Sherri's whole career and life, and
From
hearing
beginning to
from,
end, yep.
yeah, her ex and her son and Jake. There was so much great stuff here.
One of the better episodes of season 5, because trust me, SP and I was like, season 5 ain't hitting. It ain't hitting. But last week and
But
this
back
week
to
is
back, back to
back to
back.
back. We got two good episodes because it was flat. It was drowning.
Yeah, it was getting kind of dry out in here in these streets. We got the sensational one once again in the comments saying Sherri is very beloved, and a lot of wrestlers and fans that have met her say that Sherri was a sweetheart. She's the greatest female manager ever, and she was one in infinity. Couldn't say it
Correct.
better myself. We also got in the chat Frantic World and Goku, who give it an 8 out of 10. Krssi Love, who was your MVP for this episode?
Ooh, MVP. I would say her son and her best friend.
That's it.
Honorable
I
mention Jim Cornette for sure.
Okay.
Um,
I'm gonna go MVP to Jake the Snake Roberts because he kept a secret for what 50 years. And Jarrett, her son. Her son
Harrison.
deserves,
Okay.
definitely, he would probably be the top prize, but he gets to share it with Jake because, I mean, Jake, dude, you're still in love. It's so obvious you're still in
Yeah,
love.
you
You're gonna
still
be
love.
look
Yeah.
when your days on this earth are over and you go to the afterlife, we know who you're looking for.
Yep. She'll be waiting for you.
She'll
Don't
be
worry.
waiting for you. Don't worry. Y'all will still be the bestest of friends in the
Mm-hmm.
afterlife. But
Yeah.
I gotta give some love to Jake for that. LVP for this episode, it's easy. Eric Bischoff.
I was about to say Bischoff for sure.
It's twice this season we gave the LVP to Eric Bischoff. Being a hating ass nigga and bad hiring and firing
Yep.
process. Like,
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
anytime Eric Bischoff is on an episode of Dark Side of the Ring season 5, it seems like he's the
It,
LVP.
he's not a good. He doesn't do good things to people, afterwards. So, yep,
He was shitting on Buff during Buff's episode.
he did shit on Buff. Yeah.
Shitted on Brutus during Brutus
Yes.
episode,
Yes, he
and
did.
was on his full on to Hulk Hogan. So yeah,
So
Eric,
yeah,
don't
Eric
bring
Bischoff for sure.
like Goku's like, I don't hate Eric. I don't hate Bischoff. He's always somehow gets LVP
But we
because he
don't.
doesn't
It doesn't.
add anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it honestly.
No, he
Like
adds
like I
everything.
said,
He's just the bad person that did bad things to that person that we're talking about in the story. So yeah.
but honestly, I don't feel like he added anything to this episode.
No, he really didn't though. Like he
He
just
didn't.
she just told why he fired her
Yeah, like that's it.
and why
That's
he
all.
hired and
That's it.
fired her.
Yeah, that's it. Like that he didn't do his due diligence and find out why she was let go from WWF before he hired her, and
And then you go and fire her because
then
the
he
same
didn't do
shit.
his due diligence when he fired her and getting her some help. If you're firing her for drug use, maybe you should get her help or offer to get her help before you fire her.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right, well, I'm done over shitting on Eric Bischoff. I'll do that enough with his next podcast. We got Byron Driver finisher. He says he just adds himself. Yes, he doesn't
Yeah.
add anything to the topic at all. But we do have an interesting topic that we can surely, fingers crossed, not expect Eric Bischoff. Oh, damn it. Sandman worked in WCW.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he
Frantic
don't be there.
Frantic World says can't wait for next week's episode. This week's episode, isn't it? Is
Yeah.
it this week?
Tomorrow.
Is it
Yeah.
Tuesday, right? Okay,
Tuesday.
yeah. This week's episode, the Sandman is gonna have some wild stuff to talk about. Are you looking forward to this week's episode? I am. I've always been a huge Sandman fan, and I know we're gonna get the white version of the New Jack episode, I feel, with Sandman.
Oh my God, that's so true. Yeah. And because he probably wasn't smoking much weed, but he was probably doing a whole bunch of other shit.
Cocaine, definitely.
Cocaine is definitely
Cocaine,
in
beer drinking.
beer, drinking somas, probably. Because yeah, he hurt himself a lot. So Uncle Sandman for sure is definitely just like New Jack, just the white version of it. And they
The
work
white.
together too. So
Yes. Yes. I wonder if they got any, maybe like they knew in the future they would do a Sandman episode, because they had
hmm
Sandman on the New Jack episode. Maybe
yeah,
they got some lines from New Jack on Sandman
I
for
hope
this
so.
episode.
I hope so.
Hopefully,
Yes.
hopefully they got something that we could see Uncle Jerome back with us. Uh we got Chris in the chat, Chris 20XX, long time no see, good to see you. He says, "Yo, SP3, Miss Krssi Love and THH crew, how is everyone? Great to see your beautiful faces. It's been too long."
Yep.
And yeah, where you been, man? Come join the party. We're
Life
always
is life
here.
in.
Well, life is lifing as always. Goku says, "I don't think Tommy Dreamer will be back for that episode." Yeah, not after the
Well,
plane ride from hell. Nope, nope, won't be happening. Miss Krssi Love, though, that brings us to the end for this review. Let everybody know where they can follow you on social media and when they'll see you again.
guys, you can follow me, Miss Krssi Love, sensational Miss Krssi Love. That's the original name I used to have for a long, long time ago. Anywho, but you can follow me, Krssi Love _1, or True Hill Krssi Love on X. You can follow us and see me. Serving Face and Hills dropped our episode yesterday, so if you have a chance, please go and watch that. Our flagship show of True Hill Heat was dropped on Saturday. So watch that. We will be back again this week, probably Sunday, because of the backlash. So yes, so see us Sunday. And then on Know Your Role, bodyslam.net. Myself and Stephanie Hypes will be back together. The Dream Team is back together on Friday to talk about SmackDown. So let's see what happens with this draft tonight and see how they're gonna go and do this shit, whatever, how it affects SmackDown.
We'll see if the
Should have a
draft night
draft.
two, if the draft night two is better
Saves
than
it.
draft one. I mean, they lowered the bar very much for them to eclipse it. So hopefully they can tonight. And you know,
Yeah, sure.
I'm not gonna hold my breath, but
Nope.
I'm hopeful. I did want to ask you, when are we gonna do the Sandman episode? Because I mean, we don't want to fall behind like we did with 3 episodes here.
I can do Friday.
There, see, great minds think alike. I didn't even have to say it. She knew where my mind is at. That's how you know we're a
Friday
great
at
tag
12.
team here. Friday at 12. You heard it here first, folks. 12:05 p.m. We'll be back with our Sandman review for Dark Side of the Ring Season 5. You can go over on the Twitter machine and follow me at True Heel SP3. Follow the gang Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at True Heel Heat. Patreon.com/True Heel Heat. Best place to support us. $3 a month gets you exclusive content, and you're able to support us in the best way possible when we're not live here on the YouTube channel. You can also get merchandise at prowrestlingtees.com, foryourwear.com. Get your
Oh yeah, well, our
servant
shirts
face in
yesterday. Yep.
heels shirts. Because Stephanie missed the memo. She missed.
Yeah, because she's moving, so she didn't, it's okay. Don't worry. Next time. Hopefully the next time we be back, she'll have her shirt on. So it's okay.
Commend you. I commend you for not holding that against her. But yeah, it was a great episode yesterday from what I saw on Servant Face in Heels.
Thank you, sir.
You guys did great stuff. But go over,
We
check that
rambled a
out.
lot, but it's all right. We talked a lot
Hey,
about
hey,
everything.
those are
So
the best podcasts. Come on, man.
they are.
Why do you think our flagship has turned into 2.5 hour, 3 hours? Because we always rant. We always rant and get off topic for like 30 minutes. And then we
That's
find
true.
our way back. But
Yep.
you guys are in that flow now, because you now do a weekly show reviewing SmackDown. So then when you come and you're able to talk about something outside of SmackDown, you want to talk about everything. And that was
Everything.
nice
Yep.
to see. That was nice
That's
to
true.
see on Server Face Videos. So
Very
check out that
true.
check out Servant Facing Heels episode 35, the best, my opinion, the best podcast out there when it comes to women's wrestling, with Miss Krssi
Thanks.
Love and Stephanie Hypes. Check out the Flagship Podcast, the best wrestling podcast out there, the True Hill Heat Flagship Podcast from this past Saturday. And check out our Dark Side of the Ring Season 5 reviews for the Chris Colt episode. Chris Colt, welcome to my nightmare, and one of my favorites of the season so far,
Yeah.
Chris Adams,
Because we spoke to the
the
murderer.
gentleman, the gentleman and the demon,
Well,
where
we didn't
they
speak to the murderer.
actually
They gave us the
they
murderer. but-
actually interviewed the murderer of Chris Adams. That is unreal. If you did not watch that review, go over and watch that, because me and Krssi Love were out of our mind trying to get over the fact we talked to a killer. But
Correct. Yep.
for Miss Krssi Love, it is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. I will be back tomorrow, 2:05 p.m. Eastern Time, with Rated Raw Review. This has been our Dark Side of the Ring Season 5, Episode 8, Sensational Sherri Review. We are signing off until next time. Later, y'all.
Laters.